So, welcome to the third episode of Hands Up. And I don't know how my voice is sounding because I feel like I speak a bit slower than the normal speed which you hear. Um, but as I go through these episodes, I'm also kind of accepting myself that this is how I speak and there is no further changes I need to make. Actually, no one has given me negative feedback about my voice so far, so maybe it will come later in the journey. So today I have my friend from the book club, Yash Sampat. He's a lawyer and he's also a very active volunteer at Akshardham Temple in Noida. I mean, I think it's in Noida, right?
Delhi.
Delhi. And he's also a passionate reader, which I sort of figured out when we were speaking to each other in the book club. Of course, it's the same book club from where I found my previous guest, the Enthu Book Club. And like if someone has heard the previous episode, you will probably hear that both of us, me and Nikita, were very critical about Ramayana, and it was all our commentary was derived from this book called Forest of Enchantments by Chitra Banerjee Divakuruni. But actually, it's just an interpretation of Ramayana, right? It's not a substantive text. I think the real substantive text is Valmiki's Ramayana. And I think the other opinion which I heard during our discussion at the book club was that Ramayana is not just a story, but it's a substantive history of our country and our culture, and it can't be discussed in a light manner like how you would discuss Harry Potter or some other story where you can say anything you want and not really take too many things into consideration. And I think that this view was something which I was very attracted to. Like I wanted to explore it further, and I didn't find that time to sit and explore and document all these uh, substantive views about not taking Ramayana very lightly. With that context, I would just I ask Yash to introduce yourself, not just from the perspective of your profession and your passions, but also your substantive interaction with Ramayana itself as a child and as a volunteer of Akshardham Temple and the Swaminarayan, sect, if that's the right word. Yeah, over to you.
So, firstly, thank you so much, Nitesh, for making me part of your esteemed podcast. And thank you for having me here. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm so, I'm feeling elated and I don't have any words to express how happy I am right now. So, as far as my introduction goes, as you said, I am a lawyer. I have my own independent practice in Delhi since past, I guess, 7 years. I started my independent practice in 2018 and my graduation is of 2015. I did 2 years of juniorship, and since January 2018, by the grace of God, by the grace of my Ishtadev Bhagwan Swaminarayan, Bhagwan Ram, my Guru Hari Pramukh Swami Maharaj, and my present Guru Hari Mahan Swamiji Maharaj, I am able to do whatever practice I can do right now. So I am a volunteer in Akshardham, or I can say BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha, since 2006, since I was 14. So as I told you earlier that there are different kind of sabhas for different people. Like for children, like there are Bal Balika sabhas. For youths, there are Yuvak Yuvati sabhas, Kishore Kishori sabhas. For elderly, like for adults, There are Varisht Sabhas like Ravi Satsang Sabha. So every Sunday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. every BAP Swaminarayan Mandir has these kinds of sabhas wherein sadhus who are highly learned, they deliver a discourse on different scriptures. It might be Upanishads, it might be Ramayana, it might be Srimad Bhagavatam, it also might be our principal scripture, that is the Vachanamrut. And they try to link it in such a way that they say that, okay, this is something given in the scripture. Like in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about being sthit pragya, like having an equanimity in all the situations, whether you are experiencing happiness, whether you are experiencing sadness. So how can we achieve that sthit pragya sthiti in today's world? This is how sadhus, all the learned sadhus, they correlate our ancient wisdom with the present. And this is how I have been also listening to their discourses. I have been reading their or our literature. I've been reading other secondary sources like I read the Hindi version of the Raghuvansh by Adi Kavi Kalidas. So Kalidas says that he has written his own interpretation of Ramayana, but at the same time Kalidas has made sure that the essence of Mool Granth, that is the Valmiki Ramayana, is not disturbed. So as an author, Kalidas has taken a creative liberty that is not banned in our country. Nobody will sue you for or punish you for blasphemy. But at the same time, whenever we interpret Mool Granth, that is the primary source of the literature, it is the duty of the author to take creative liberty as much as it is in the essence of the Mool Granth or in consonant to the Mool Granth. And since childhood, as I said, that I have been listening to different kathas of Bhagwan Shri Ram, Bhagwan Shri Krishna, Bhagwan Swaminarayan. So what I have felt that, especially in Ramayana, one point has been always highlighted by the sadhus, learned sadhus. They say that Ramayana, the essence of Ramayana is to discuss to clarify the debate between what is right versus who is right. So somewhere when an ethical dilemma arises, we have a natural tendency to act, or we have a natural tendency to be defensive, like, I am right in this situation. But sometimes our mind in that dilemma does not think forward that, what if I act in this way? What are the future consequences? What are the ramifications of it? So whenever someone is in the path of spirituality, that spirituality helps that person to slow down his thought process. The spirituality helps that person to be sthir and enables him to think in that situation, okay, if this happens, what will be the future consequence? Like, as I said in Ramayana, what is right versus who is right? When Raja Dashrath says to Bhagwan Ram that, you have to undergo 14-year-old exile, Bhagwan Ram could have easily said, this is my rightful kingdom. It is my Rajya Abhishek. I am the rightful owner. If in present times, as a lawyer, I can say, if a father says that, I'm dismissing you from my will, father, I'll take you to the court. I'll sue you. But what did Bhagwan Ram do? He obeyed his father. He said, okay. Because he understood that in spiritual sense, if we see that there was a prayojan that Bhagwan Ram had to kill Ravana and that journey had to be undertaken, that is a different aspect. But if we see it in a modern aspect, or with a, I'll not say rational, but an ordinary sense, Bhagwan Ram decided on or acted upon what is right, what was the right thing to do. If he would have thought, I am right, I'll fight for my rights, the entire family as a unit would have been dismantled. Bhagwan Ram chose the path of dharma and kept his family united for all these years. That is something that I as a child have learned, and even that has helped in my profession. Like, whenever there are some situations which I know that, if I act in such a way, because I just not have to appear myself before the judge or before the court. I just don't have to argue, but I also have to protect my client's interest. in such a manner that it does not hamper the procedure of the court. So I am not just answerable to the court, but I am also answerable to the client. So in that way, whenever some dilemma arises, I think, what should I do? What is right versus who is right? So that is how Ramayana since childhood has helped me.
Yeah, and when you were going to these different sabhas, right? As a child, as a teenager, and then as an adult, I'm sure you're still going there.
Yes.
Um, like, who was who pushed? I mean, What was the starting point? Like, your parents just took you there and forced you to sit, or you voluntarily went, and like, how was that experience?
So basically, since childhood, like before even being associated with BAPS, I was a religious person, I was a spiritual person. Then by that time, I came to class 7th or 8th, there was some sort of rebel inside me. No, let's be modern, man. Who cares about spirituality? Then now, I am a Gujarati. Swaminarayan sect is from Gujarat. But I had never stayed in Gujarat before 2010. Because as my dad says, 7 generations ago, like my native is in Mandvi, Kutch. I'm a Kutchi basically. My ancestors migrated from Mandvi to Calicut, Kerala. 7 generations ago. My father was born and brought up in Calicut. I was born in Calicut. And even in my home, I still speak in Kutchi with my parents. We have preserved our culture there even in Calicut. There is a Gujarati street, and near that there is Silk Street where my home was there. I have some memories, I still remember those. So when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me stories about Hanumanji, like how Hanumanji devoured the ball of sun, and how Bhagwan Ram was very, he was so brave. And I have grown up hearing those stories from my mother, from my father, and from my relatives. I used to imagine myself as, Bhagwan Ram going to Sita Ji's Swayamvar and breaking up the Dhanush. Sometimes I used to, just take one, that twig of jhadu, make it a Dhanush and say, Mummy, I will Sita Ji's Swayamvar. When I was a kid. So then, since 2000, we are in Delhi. After Calicut, we went to Muscat. After Muscat, we went to Hyderabad. After Hyderabad, we came to Delhi. And I'm here since 2000. From 2010 to 15, I did my law in Nirma University, Ahmedabad. I came back. Now, 2005, like since I said I am from Kerala, despite being Gujarati, we did not hear or we were not acquainted by the Swaminarayan sect. Because Swaminarayan sect is a approximately 200 years old sect. Its major presence is in Gujarat. Now after Delhi Akshardham, Robbinsville Akshardham, in BAPS Hindu Mandir in UAE, now people have come to know what is Swaminarayan sect. Especially after Pramukh Swami Maharaj Shatabdi Mahotsav, when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi was there. So at that time nobody knew what is Swaminarayan sect, Akshardham. We have been staying in East Delhi since 2002. We used to see that there is some temple construction going on, Akshardham. Okay, fine. So one fine day in 2005, December, my parents took me to Akshardham Temple. We did the darshan. It is a very impressive place. And I was astonished, oh my God, Indian culture has so many things to offer. I don't know about that. Or we have not studied about that, we have not heard about that. For me, Indian culture was what we read in history books. First we have that Indus Valley civilization, then we have Aryan invasion, then we have Mauryan Empire, then we have Gupta Empire, then Harshvardhan comes, then Delhi Sultanate comes, Muhammad Ghori, then Mughals and all, Britishers. For me, that was Indian history till that time. And I've been interested in history since I was a child. Then when I saw different exhibitions there, I saw different carvings, or I understood our history, it sort of inspired me. And at that time, there was a wheelchair at our home. My maternal grandmother, she passed away in 2004. She was with us till last. And during her last days, we used to carry her in a wheelchair. So we saw there that in 2005, Akshardham was a specially able friendly place. It is still there. So we saw that people are being carried in wheelchair. So my dad thought, rather than selling that wheelchair, I'll donate it here. Just a thought came. After 15 days, my dad and mom came, they donated the wheelchair. And one of the sadhus, he met my dad and said, the satsang sabha happens here every Sunday, you should come. He took the number of my dad, asked that how many children do you have? Said, I have one child, Yash. He's in class 8th. Okay. We forgot about it. Then I still remember, I think it was 31st January 2006, when there was a test match between India and Pakistan, and Irfan Pathan took a hat trick.
Yeah, I watched that series.
Yes, at that time I was like, cricket is my life, man. At that time, we got a call from Pujya Divyavatsal Swamiji, who used to handle the Bal Sanskar Kendra of Akshardham. He called my father. He asks that you have a child, Yash. You can call. You can come and meet me on that day, 31st January. I'm like, okay, let's go. We went there, and then Divyavatsal Swamiji met my father and me. He said that we are brahmachari sadhus. We don't touch money. We are Ashtang brahmachari, so we don't have any connect with the women. This is our tapasya. And we follow Panch Vartaman, and this is how we live. We are educated sadhus. And every Sunday there is Bal Mandal, there is Yuvak Mandal, there is Varisht Mandal. You can come to Satsang Sabha. So my father said that okay, Yash is young, and he can use this Bal Sanskar Kendra as a personality development or as a platform to develop his personality. So my father said that Yash is coming, and then I'll see how it works. And next week, 6th February 2006, I went to Bal Sabha. That was my first Bal Sabha. My father went to Satsang Sabha. My father said to my mom that it is a good place to come, good discourses, learned sadhus. I also found something really interesting there, and then rest is history. So it is basically, I as a child was a very, I will not say disturbed child, but very hyperactive child. I used to fight with everyone. Like just beat push around of anyone, and I have a very bad violent history of my childhood. When I came to Akshardham, I had my hyperactive moments also. Now even at that time I was a rebel. Why to do puja in the morning, why to apply tila, why to do this, that. We live in a secular country. But rather than countering my questions, these sadhus, out of love and affection, they nurtured me. They didn't say, you are wrong, this is this, read this, read that. What sadhus did or what the sanchalaks did is that we have a patrika, Bal Prakash. There are few incidents like publications wherein there are stories from our Upanishads, Gita, Bhagavad Puran, or even Ramayana. The sanchalak used to call me, Yash, you come and you read it. Okay. I felt a sense of belonging there. Someone has called me. I'm important. Okay. I read that. Okay, I felt nice. Then some sadhu said, okay, there is a Safai drive going on in the Sabha hall. You go and do Safai. We did the Safai with everyone. That is how that hyperactive behavior got changed to someone who can work in a team. Then even in case of like when I was so rebel that why this, why that, sadhu just said there is a library, there are some books. Whenever you get time, you read. Started reading. Then gradually my mind went to a shift. Okay, if they are saying something, this is the reason. Then I had darshan of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Pramukh Swami Maharaj's contribution in my life is substantial. Substantial means substantial. Like Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam wrote his last book, Transcendence, on Pramukh Swami Maharaj. A Muslim president writing for a Hindu guru in itself is an unprecedented event. And in his book, he mentions that, when I was sitting and pondering that I am a Muslim president, I'm a Muslim person writing something for a Hindu guru. Although we are liberals, we live in 21st century, but will the society accept it? Then he calls his brother. He asks him this question. His brother says that sadhus like Pramukh Swami Maharaj are not confined to Swaminarayan sect. They are for entire humanity. When we talk about Ramayana or Mahabharata, we talk about the interpretation of dharma. A sadhu's dharma is to be nurturing for everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, status, and religion. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was such a sadhu. We'll discuss like someday else at what contribution Pramukh Swami Maharaj is has had in my life and in my family's life. Today, like if I'm alive,
Mm.
if my family is alive, it is only due to Pramukh Swami Maharaj.
Yeah, I mean, when you say you like history, like
Yes.
you are actually, quoting dates from where you started all
Yes.
of this, which is very interesting because I also claim that I like history, but I don't remember all these dates and substantial events and all of that. And also, you're like probably I do hope to make have more conversations like this, but I don't think anyone will be as prepared as you are right now.
See that blame it on my profession.
Yeah, whether it's your profession or not, I mean, even if a lawyer were to come here, maybe that person would see it as a casual thing. But I mean, that's obviously that shows that how much discipline and structure that this Swaminarayan sect or the gurus have brought in, and I think that is substantially helping you in many ways.
Yes.
Um, so there were so many things I wanted to discuss, mostly because I have not I confess, I mean, I spoke about this even in the previous conversation, that I have not read any substantial text of Ramayana. I mean, that Forest of Enchantment was the first
Mhm.
real book which I touched about Ramayana, and before that I read Ramayana from a children's book which had a lot of pictures, and after that I absorbed the story only through cultural influences. Like I used to listen to Carnatic music,
Mhm.
or I would probably see some snippets of something somewhere. I mean, I don't even remember watching any Ramayana related cartoons as well, but I'm still claiming that Rama is one of my greatest heroes,
Mhm.
and it's very hard to articulate, and I'm only trying to articulate these days, especially in the last after I read this book. um, I think that there are only two things which I absorbed from this god, right? One is like he's able to stick to his words, which is a very rare trait, even for people. I mean, that is something which I do and I expect others to do, but more often than not, it doesn't happen. And I also am disappointed with myself if I can't stick to my words, once in a while. Maybe 90% of the times I'm doing that, but 10% I'm not. Maybe because I'm lazy or the scenario has changed. But the nature of promise is that it doesn't change in spite of the scenario, right? So that is one trait which I totally admire about Rama. And the second thing is, the extent of grief and pain he's able to go through for the sake of reputation, right? Um, I mean, I also relate to that because I feel, um, I mean, not out of a place of ego, but I feel reputation is very important and you should maintain it at whatever cost it is. I mean, without reputation, I would not be able to respect myself. And the fact that Rama is able to hold up to a very high standard is very, very, impressive. I think I did not read many texts, but these are the only two things which I could gather from this story, and these are the only two things which attract me to the God and also maintain that connect with the God. And it's not as serious as you have like attended so many sessions, read so many books under the guidance of gurus. Like I had none of it. Actually, there was one Ram temple near my home, and my grandfather was part of that administrative team, or I don't know, committee. So he was very spiritual and he was active in many temple committees. He was part of a Hanuman temple committee as well, and he was organizing Ganesh pandals and all of that. So I was kind of close to religion, like I was devout, and even I had my rebellious years in the teenage. And my rebellious, days went on till mid twenties or something. And after that, I sort of read the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and things happened, and like there was turmoil and all of that. And that is something which brought me back to this sphere of spirituality, or whatever you want to call it. So, but still there is a lot of rationality, and there are so many other influences which come in between, right? So I studied engineering, and like the loyalty to science, logic, and these kind of things have also acquired a lot of space in my mind. And even my friendships and even my circles, wherever I've been interacting, they're all more towards the liberal side, and they're very very different from you, and they would not never have spent so much time in spiritual growth as you have. So I have a lot of questions, mostly about Ramayana itself, and its nuances, because there are so many nuances, right? And if you don't really understand all the context and all the complexities of this, you're bound to make some flimsy conclusions, which may sound intelligent, but in reality there are so many layers which are being ignored. And one of the things which you said, which deeply um, it evokes interest, is that Ramayana is actually Itihasa. It is actually history, and you also rightly say that it's unfair to call this as just a story when we're not using similar words for other mythologies or other stories or other holy books. I mean, there are so many people who criticize all holy books, but in India it's more fashionable to criticize Hindu scriptures, while people would think very hard before criticizing other religious books. It's a fair point, but as an individual, I would probably criticize everything equally, but maybe the repercussions for criticizing other books would be very, very harsh. Um, but I want to know, like, why do you feel that this is a historical text? Like, why is it actually considered as history? Like, I have not done any research, and you have read a lot of things. So I want to know through you, and maybe after that I'll also go and read about it.
So, firstly, you just mentioned that you think that reputation is important,
Yeah.
and what Bhagwan Ram did was to keep the reputation. I will disagree with you because uh, there is a different side to it.
Mm.
Great people do not act to save their reputation.
Mm.
Great people follow dharma because it is their kartavya, it is their duty to follow dharma. We'll come on this point later on because I know there is one question regarding that also. We'll keep the cherry on the cake for later. But as you said that whether Ramayana is history or fiction, or why is it a history, why like what kind of evidences are there? So now often I say that why is my culture, why is the Indic way of looking at history or Itihasa a subject of scrutiny, when time and then our scholars have proven their mettle and proven everything? Why is that? And why the same treatment is not given to other other branches of religions, or other belief systems? Why is that? And that too in India. In India, it is very, you can be cool by criticizing Hinduism or by criticizing Sanatan Dharma. As a follower of Sanatan Dharma, that I'll not say that it disappoints me. It makes me feel amazed that how can someone without reading, see, we do not have one scripture, we have libraries. You want to criticize, fair criticism is okay. We will not sue you for blasphemy, we will not, put you inside the bars. Now, in Indian history, or if we say Bharatiya Tattva Darshan, criticism for the sake of inquiry was never banned. It is still not banned. Now, the 10th mandal of Rigved, Nasadiya Sukta, which is often interpreted as two philosophers talking about how the world or how the universe was created. In the last line, now Rigved is stated to be one of the foremost or the first texts of literature which talk about God. Now, in Rigved, the principal Ved, in the last para, the philosopher asks, who created the universe, who created the time, even who created the universe, does he know that? Perhaps he doesn't. My culture offers you a room to ask question to your God, and that is bhakti, and that is not blasphemy. That is how liberal our culture is. And those people, the stalwarts of liberalism and freedom of speech, whenever they try to, listen to a different viewpoint, they will cancel you. Oh, you are saffronizing history. Okay. Your viewpoint is your viewpoint. Our viewpoint is saffronizing history.
Yeah.
So that is another.
There's a lot of double standard in this.
Yes.
But let's stick to the point.
Yes.
Like the history. Why do we? Let's ignore all the other viewpoints and all of that. Like we are on a blank slate.
Okay.
And we are saying that Ramayana is history. And why?
So now, when we talk about history, I know that you and I share an equal liking for Napoleon Bonaparte. And he stated, what is history? A fable agreed upon. History is written by the victors and the losers do not have any. Now, when we talk about interpreting Indic history or a history of Bharat or the Indian subcontinent, I basically say that we have to look at our history, or we have to own our Itihas through our own lens rather than the lens of the colonial master. If we look at our Itihas from the lens of a colonial master, it will be similar as seeing my worth through the lens of my toxic ex. Exactly. My toxic ex would never want me to realize my self-worth. Absolutely. It is the same thing. So now, first, the Indic viewpoint of Itihasa. What is Itihasa? Itihasa is derived from Itihasa, the way it happened, or so it was. Now, in 6th century, there was a Sanskrit lexicon known as Amarkosh, which refers history as Purva Vritta, the narration of the past. Now, in Sanatan Dharma, our scriptures are divided into broad categories. We have Shruti Shastras, Veda, Upanishad. Shruti means what has been listened. We have Smriti Shastras, like Manusmriti, Yagnavalkya Smriti. All the, if in legal language, if I say the code of conduct or the moral code of conduct of that time, of a particular time, may be or may not be applicable in today's world. Then we have Itihasa Shastra. Broadly, there are two scriptures which are covered in the Itihasa Shastra, that are Ramayana and Mahabharata. Now, if I use my lawyer brain to interpret any law or what the provision of law actually wants to say, we go to the intent of the legislature. What was the intent of the lawmaker while making a certain, certain provision of law? If in Constitution Article 1 says that India, that is Bharat, what was the intent of the Constitution makers for saying that India, that is Bharat, or Bharat is India? We refer to Constitutional Assembly debates to see the intent. Now, here, to see the intent of the author, we have to see what Valmiki Rishi in Ramayana, or how Maharshi Vedvyas in context of Mahabharata has presented it. Now, Valmiki or Ramayana never stated that it is a myth. Valmiki Rishi wrote it as an Itihas Shastra or a narration, because Valmiki Rishi was a contemporary of Lord Rama. Bhagwan Ram, when he banished Sita, or he asked Sita ji to go to exile. Where was Sita ji? In Valmiki ji's ashram. So firstly, when we talk about the intent of the author, the basic, so we see that Valmiki Rishi in Ramayana and Maharshi Vedvyas in Mahabharata have written it with an understanding that this is a narration of the past or the narration of the contemporary times which has happened. Now, when we come to the debate of mythology versus history, saying our texts as mythology is a colonial interpretation. Because today only, while coming back from the court, I was listening to a podcast by a famous author, Ami Ganatra, who has written Mahabharata Unraveled and Ramayana Unraveled. So she explained in the podcast that the word mythology, it came from a very biblical understanding, because as per biblical understanding, the world has a certain age. When they came to India, they saw our sources and they thought, the colonial masters thought, oh my God, they predate the biblical timeline. So whatever is before biblical timeline has to be regarded as a mythology. And then,
oh, that's an interesting point which I never heard.
Then secondly, when you try to colonize a civilization or you win over a civilization, you can do it through arms, ammunition, or just control. But how do you actually colonize a civilization? By making that civilization hate their own culture. When you say that, this is not history, this is mythology. What we are the real ones who are teaching you the history, Aryan invasion theory. It means Aryans were the barbarians who ruled you, who attacked you. That was justified. So we are coming here, we attack you. That is also justified. This simple exercise is just a devil's play to ingrain a sense of inferiority and a low sense of esteem, low self-esteem in in Bharatiyas. Now, long time ago, I had read an article. I don't remember it. It was, I think, 7-8 years ago. And the author mentions that Greek mythology, Roman mythology are treated as mythologies in present times because there are no active practitioners. You will not find any practitioner of Greek mythology. You will not find practitioner of Roman mythology. And even worst case scenario, if you consider Hindu scriptures or Sanatan Dharma scriptures as mythology, that is a personal preference, or history, that is also a personal preference. But it has to be considered as a living mythology, because in heart of every practitioner, Bhagwan Ram and Bhagwan Krishna exists. Every practitioner of Indic consciousness is a Tattva Jnani in himself. How can you say that it is mythology? We are living it with it. That is why our school of thought is known as Darshan. Darshan means I can see it and imbibe it in my life. That is Darshan. How can you even call it mythology if you even talk with a philosophical sense? You and me, everybody who is a practitioner of Indic consciousness is living that life. How can it be mythology? Now,
yeah, I understood the emotional aspect of it. Like yes, even I have read this book called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, where the missionaries go and convert all these Africans from their original religion to Christianity. And the first time convert is more more fanatical, more fanatical than the real Christian himself, to prove that the previous religion is bullshit. But I understand, like calling this as a story and myth is one way to conquer our mind and all of that. But if you look at it, no one is calling the Bible as history as well, or maybe some other. I'm not sure about Quran because I've not read that much. But nowhere, even in the Western world, are they calling Bible as a history which actually happened. Like, because today also, no matter how hard you try, you can't convert wine into water into wine or something like that by just doing this. But still, I have read that some people are converted into saints by the Vatican, if you can provide proof that they have done miracles, which is again like no serious person believes in all of that, right? Um, so when I'm talking about history with proof,
Hmm.
let's say there is Pushpak Viman or
Hmm.
the flight,
Hmm.
or let's say there was some shape shifting person, or let's say there is some person with 10 heads. I'm talking about the characters with their real tools
Hmm.
and their appearance and their magical powers
Hmm.
and all of that. Uh, can anybody prove that it existed?
So now,
No,
as
let me
yeah,
just complete
yes.
it. But also, there's another view that okay, there was a real story. There was a real story of the real king was there, and there was a real rival over there in Sri Lanka.
Mhm.
They did travel over there and they fought a war and they came back. And later, this person became a god level figure, and people inserted some magical aspect into the
Mhm.
story. So to that extent, it was Itihasa. Like
Mhm.
really, there was Ram. He was a great king.
Mhm.
He did fight this war, but later, if you have to make it popular, or if you have to, elevate this person to a godly status,
Mhm.
then obviously he has to perform some magical things. Like there has to be a Hanuman who can jump from here to
Mhm.
there. So I'm not saying that we have to dismiss this entire story.
Mhm.
I'm saying okay, let's say if we are calling this entire story as a real historical narrative, whether should we also question, or whether should we also examine those magical aspects of the story? I still, my own sense is that there was a great king. He, established civilization over the huge subcontinent. He also probably fought this war with a rival. But the magical aspects were probably added
Mhm.
to make it more palatable for spreading, or to make that god worthy of worship. So that is where I'm coming from. I'm not. I agree to a large part of this thing which you said. That the British people want to subjugate. They invented all of these. Uh, but even when they're inventing, they are also showing some sort of evidence. I don't know how strong it is. I do agree that you can take any evidence and create any history out of it. But ignoring all of that psychological aspect, the substantial elements of the story, that
Mhm.
they were monkeys.
Mhm.
I mean, there is some interpretation which says that monkeys were not part of the war. Maybe the tall Aryan people saw the Dravidian people and thought they were monkeys. So I mean, I'm talking about such things.
Mhm.
Um, I want some comments on that. Like, what have you learned about
Mhm.
these minor points, the
Mhm.
magical aspects
Magical
of?
aspect. Actually, I don't think myself as a qualified or an authority to talk on this
Yeah.
subject, because as I said that it is a
Mm.
special academic curriculum
Yeah.
which has to be understood, learned and grasped under the guidance of a guru.
Mm.
Now here, as far as the evidence is concerned,
Mm.
I can provide you with some scriptural evidences,
Mm.
with archaeological evidences,
Mm.
which people often don't know or don't
Yeah,
realize about.
exactly. Archaeological evidence.
Then
That's what I was.
geographical evidences,
Mm.
literary evidences, as well as the astronomical evidences.
Mm.
Now coming to the scriptural evidences. Now the best part, like one of the best part of Indian scriptures, like Hindu scriptures that I like the most, and what Swami Vivekananda also said in his book Raj Yoga,
Mm.
is that our scriptures are basically consistent with each other. Whatever is written in Ramayana, and Ramayana was written by Maharishi Valmiki.
Mm.
You will find some references or some mentions of Ramayana in Mahabharata,
Mm.
which was written by Vedvyas, two
Mm.
different authors.
Mm.
Vedvyas was the one who compiled our Vedas, Upanishads, and the other scriptures.
Mm.
So in Bhagavad Puran, Bhagavad Puran says that Bhagwan Ram became king during Treta Yuga.
Mm.
Now same Varaha Puran also says that Ramayana war had occurred in the 24th Treta Yuga.
Mm.
Now this 24th Treta Yuga is basically the cyclical time, like 1000 years of one day of Brahma is equal to something something. It is a mathematical calculation, and since I am weak in maths, I often fail to understand this.
Mm.
Even Matsya Puran
Mm.
says that Bhagwan Ram was born into the 24th Treta Yuga. Now coming to the
so there's substantial consistency in all
yes.
the text,
yes,
which shows that someone was maintaining this record.
Now these Puranas and Vedas were compiled by Vedvyas. Now coming to Valmiki Ramayana, the original text, the book 5, that is Sundar Kanda, chapter 4, verse number 27, that is from Gita Press, Gorakhpur. It explains, when Hanuman first approached Ravana's place, he saw the doorways surrounded by horses, chariots, palanquins and aerial cars, beautiful horses and elephants, nay with 4-tusked elephants decked with jewels resembling masses of white clouds. Now in verse 12, same Sundarkand chapter 27, there is a demon named as Trijata, who has a dream of Lord Rama, and which she describes to other people after she wakes up, and in the dreams she sees Ram, the scion of Raghu, united again with Sita. Sri Rama was mounted on a huge elephant closely resembling a hill with 4 tusks. Now many authors, they debate, how can Valmiki Ramayana contain a reference of 4-tusked elephant, unless Valmiki and people of his era were familiar with this particular. And I think here that in my reference it is just written that a quick search on Encarta encyclopedia will let us know that these 4-tusked elephants were known as mastodon, which are said to have evolved around 38 million years ago and became extinct about 15 million years ago, when the shaggy and the 2-tusked mastodons increased in the population. So now we talk about 38 million years ago, 15 million years ago.
I mean, so what you're saying is the creatures which are mentioned in the actual text are not extremely fictional. There is evidence that
yes. Now when we come to the astrological evidence, there is an astronomer named as Pushkar Bhatnagar who wrote the book dating the era of Lord Rama. When I think when we were discussing the Forest of Enchantments in the book club, I told about the astrological reference that is mentioned in the Ramayana. So he refers, and he had some sophisticated planetarium like software, and he stated that whatever the sequence of planetary positions are mentioned by the Valmiki ji in Ramayana or various events of Bhagwan Ram's life do not repeat for lakhs of years or can be manipulated or imagined so accurately without any sophisticated software. And upon that study, he has drawn an inference that someone was present there to witness the actual happening of the events. Then he refers to the verse from Ramayana which says, Rama was born on the Navami Tithi of Shukla Paksha of Chaitra Mas, 9th day of the increasing phase of moon in the lunar month of Chaitra. At that time, we didn't have Gregorian calendars or Vikram Samvat at that time. So that is how the dating happened at that time. The nakshatra was Punarvasu. I remember saying that Bhagwan Ram was born in Punarvasu nakshatra. And Sun, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter and Venus were in Aries, Capricorn, Libra, Cancer and Pisces respectively. Lagna was Cancer and Jupiter and Moon were shining together. Now as per the software, he provides the date of Sri Ram Navami as 10th January 5114 BC at 12:30 p.m. Now there was another Vedic astrologer named as Nartaka Gopala. He said that Bhagwan Ram is even older than that because a planetarium software has its own limitation. And as per Vedic astrology,
and most of the softwares have bugs, which I can say.
Yes. Now I'll show you another link, and that is something fascinating that I saw yesterday, and I myself was astounded. So that is a research paper.
We can add this as a link in the notes.
Scientific dating of ancient events from 7000 BC to 2000 BC. It is a very it is a huge paper. So I'll just it mentions about the story of Sri Ram's life was first narrated by Maharishi Valmiki, which was written after Sri Ram was crowned as the king of Ayodhya. And then the author mentions everything, like Sun in Aries, Saturn in Libra, as I told earlier. And then again, 10 January 5104 BC, the data was entered into planetarium gold software. Now, date of exile of Ram, all the references of Valmiki Ramayana as mentioned in Ayodhya Kand is given. How old was Bhagwan Ram when he went to Vanvas? Then solar eclipse during war with Khardushan. Khardushan were the cousins of Ravana, whom Ravana had who had come to kill Bhagwan Ram after he decimated, after Lakshman decimated the nose and ears of Shuprakha. Then other eclipses are mentioned in Ramayana, Kishkinda Kand, other important dates, like all of the constellation, what were the position of the planets and constellations. Then first phase, second phase, third phase. Now just let me come to the main thing, which has fascinated me. Now, ancestors of Shri Ram, correlation of genealogy with genetic studies. Indian history has recorded that Shri Ram belonged to Surya Vansh and he was the 64th ruler of this dynasty. Most of the names and other relevant particulars of previous 63 kings are listed in Ayodhya Ka Itihas, written about 80 years back by Rai Bahadur Sitaram. In fact, names of these ancestors of Lord Rama have been listed in Valmiki Ramayana as narrated by Vasishtha Muni to Raja Janak. If it was a mythology, how could anyone, even narrate 64 generations or 63 generations previous to Lord Rama?
Yeah, I mean, this does make sense, and I also feel that many of such research papers would have been written.
Yes.
But I think since our academia is largely left dominated,
yes.
And also there's a tendency to politicize this as well, right? It was a huge political movement as well. And I know for a fact that a lot of scholars tend to lie and suppress facts to further a certain narrative.
Yes.
It's human nature as well, right? If you want to tell your story, you have to suppress something else. If you want to achieve your ends, you have to, someone else has to lose. So I'm sure there is a lot of research like this and sort of evidence, not maybe, real archaeological evidence which you can touch and feel.
There is a real archaeological evidence, and come to it.
Okay, so then I'm curious about that as well. But what I was trying to say is, I'm sure there is a lot of evidence and research done like this, but none of us have seen it because probably it was not taught, it was not propagated, and it was not made as popular knowledge. It's not our Aryan invasion theory, which is so popular. That every child can, maybe if this was taught, then everyone would know that he was the 64th.
64th.
Yeah, 64th king of. Yeah, that's what. Because the first guy, Manu, and Manu's Smriti itself has been. I don't know to what extent it is inhuman or dehumanizing.
This Manu and the other Manu Smriti. There are debates. Is he the same one? Is he someone else? Or some people say that Manu Smriti was written in AD. Some say it was written.
So
in
I can agree that some of these laws might be discriminatory in nature, whatever it is. But what the academia has successfully done is it has taken one bad law and it has besmirched the entire history and the entire scripture group of scriptures, so that no one even dares to go and read it. Because if they go and read it, then you are a supporter of Manusmriti and casteism.
The interesting aspect of Manusmriti, there are two interesting aspects which I would like to highlight. Manusmriti has a shlok like Yatra Naryastate Pujayantu Tatra Ramane Devataha. Where the women are worshipped. Even the gods rejoice. Now, if you have to cherry pick a certain thing to further your agenda, you can do. That shows the biasness. Now, even in Manusmriti, I had read an essay by Puja Mukund Charan Swamiji. He is a very senior saint in BAPS, and he has done a lot of primary research in the topics like karma, punarjanam vad, and even in our ancient scriptures. So he mentions that Manusmriti has mentioned 7 or 8 types of marriages, in which he has broadly categorized the recognizable marriages and unrecognizable marriages. Now, in unrecognizable marriages, there are marriages which any marriage, either from the bride's side or the bridegroom side, has anything in money or kind, if there is some consideration involved, or we can say dowry, it is not allowed. But what we are taught, dowry is an essential characteristic in any Hindu marriage. Then even Manusmriti mentions that any marriage wherein any party's consent is not taken is not allowed.
Yeah, I'm sure like every piece of law, right? Like there's also some eye for an eye kind of a law. I don't know, like it's not obviously any rational analysis of these texts is not a justification of any discrimination which is happening in reality in the ground. Like it's not just because we are speaking about Manusmriti and saying that there are some positive aspects of it, it doesn't mean that we are going to support untouchability.
Yeah, that is true. See,
So this nuance is missing because it's because politics and ideology is also a kind of a fanaticism, especially in academia, because there is no substantial achievement they can show, right? The only substantial achievement of many academics is that they are fanatically attached to something.
Yes.
It's not about inquiry as such. It's not about having a conversation or saying that okay, there are gray areas, there are positive things. There are some very bad things. So, like any text you give to any ruler, like even Ambedkar said, even if you have the best constitution and a bad ruler, you're going to have a bad government.
Bad outcome.
So, I mean, like you have a text and someone picks something to acquire more power, suppress someone. I mean, that nuance is definitely missing in the popular discussion about any of these texts. Now I think you had some archaeological stuff.
So like when you said about Manusmriti, like I'll come this to later when, because you will also ask me that why is it essential to learn a certain scripture under a guru. I'll come to that Manusmriti part also, which which has to be interpreted or which is not to be interpreted.
Yeah.
So now before archaeological evidence, I'll talk about the literary evidence. There are numerous authors who have accepted Ramayana as a historical text. Just to name a few, C. Rajagopalachari, the first Governor General of independent India. Then there was an English Indologist, Sir William Jones. Then Philip Ludgendorff, who has written Rama's story in Shiva's City from California University. Then there is one more, the boundaries of traditional Ramayana and Mahabharata performances in South and Southeast Asia, University of Michigan. Joe Burkhalter, Flo Quakiger, I don't know how it is.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. Like maybe we can make a PDF of all of this and I'll link it to the.
This one. Right. Then Anne Harbour and W. L. Smith on Ramayana traditions in Eastern India, University of Stockholm. So Ramayana as a subject, as a piece of history, in past, in present has also in past has been studied and in present is being studied. Now, when we come to archaeological evidences, there are three archaeologists or historians I would like to quote. First is Nandita Krishnan. Second is the Bhishma Pitama of Indian archaeology, that is Padma Vibhushan late Shri B.B. Lal. And third is the Professor S.S. Rao. Now, Professor S.S. Rao is someone who had unearthed the deep sea excavations of Dwarka. Now, Nandita Krishnan, she's basically from Chennai. She's a historian and an environmentalist.
I read one of her books. She's talking about some plants or something. I forgot about it, but yeah, I know.
So, she says that all the places that were visited by Bhagwan Ram retain the memories of his visit as if it happened yesterday. And when one ponders, he or she realizes that Valmiki ji would not have so many resources considering the time when it was written to imagine each geographical areas mentioned in Ramayana so perfectly, and in Ramayana the archaeology, literature and local traditions are in conformity. There is no inconsistency, and she says that considering the archaeological perspective, like Ramayana is it is accepted right now. It happened around 10,000, 11,000 years ago. Mahabharata happened around 5,000 years ago. Now, city of Ayodhya and Mathura since those times have been rebuilt so many times that it is virtually impossible to excavate each and everything to gather the primary archaeological evidence. And again, Pushkar Bhatnagar, he says that if the buildings of that time over 7,000 years ago do not exist today, can we just infer that the civilizations and personalities of that time did not even exist? That is his question. Now,
you can't expect any structure to
exactly
exist for so long.
Do you know which is the oldest temple of India, existing temple of India?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It is named like, there is some specific number to it. It is in the campus of Sanchi Stupa. It is a small temple and it is believed to be of Gupta era.
Yeah, Gupta era is something like 600 BC or I don't know, I forgot. But it's unreasonable to expect something which is 8,000, 9,000.
Exactly. Now, Padma Vibhushan late Shri B.P. Lal, he's called as Bhishma Pitama of Indian archaeology. Now, his contribution to Ramayana and Mahabharata is very it is the utmost contribution. In 1975, ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, had excavated 6 sites mentioned in Ramayana. Ayodhya, the birthplace of Lord Rama. Then Shringaverapura, where Bhagwan Ram, Lakshman and Sita ji crossed Ganga during their Vanvas. Ashram of Bharadwaj Muni, where they had stayed with Bharadwaj Muni in Ramayana, there is an incident. Then Chitrakoot. Then Nandigram, where Bharat had ruled in Bhagwan Ram's absence. Parihara, where Sita was abandoned by Lakshman. And that is Professor B.B. Lal, in his paper, he mentions that the excavated trenches consistently revealed that the earliest settlement at Ayodhya did not go back prior to the early stage of northern black polished ware. In these early levels, a few traced shreds of painted grey ware, PGW. Painted grey ware is also associated with Mahabharata sites. All the sites of Mahabharata which were excavated during the time of Shri B.B. Lal have, including the Indraprastha, it is said, old fort, have painted grey ware. And then he says the foregoing evidence from the various sites associated with the Ramayana story suggests that the Ram story may not have been mere figment of the imagination, but may have a kernel of truth at its base, magnified, of course, through the centuries followed. The date of the episode, according to the archaeological evidence, is unlikely to have been earlier than 700 BC. And that is what Professor B.B. Lal said.
See, I do agree. Okay, there was many scholars who have spoken about this, they have written about this and all of that. Like if we say that okay, there is some great historian who has said this, and that is why we should believe. I mean, hypothetically, if that is the argument, then people from the leftist ideology will also use a similar argument. Oh, she is so great. Oh, that is why she has written all of this, so we should believe. I mean, that can't be a argument in any case, right? The reputation of or the halo around a particular personality never makes everything they say as truth. Even Albert Einstein said quantum mechanics is false. Like it's he was against quantum mechanics till his death. Just because Albert Einstein is a great physicist, everything he says never becomes the truth. But I get what you're trying to say. Like there is so much circumstantial evidence, or at least references in several texts, or some clues to this. And it's also unreasonable now that I am having a conversation with you, and I'm thinking, okay, this is so early, like 9,000, 10,000 years, or maybe even before that, we don't know. It's unreasonable to expect a stone or Rama's palace or his
clothes.
His clothes or his slippers to be available now.
Yes, no.
So if someone asks me where is the proof, then I'll have to bring Rama's slippers from 12,000 years ago. I mean, it's really unreasonable.
Slippers when you were small, have you still preserved it?
I don't know. I don't think. Maybe my mom.
How can I believe that you wore slippers when you were small? I have that question, right?
Exactly. So some kind of questions are designed to make you fail. So I think there's no point in asking such questions at all.
Exactly.
But largely my own
Hmm.
understanding from first principles, whatever you want to call it, common sense,
Hmm.
that there was a personality. I believe this is
Hmm.
my understanding
Hmm.
after seeing all the things you talked about. I have not done any deep research on this topic because I didn't I felt that these gods,
Hmm.
it's better to take some values from them and try to live those values
Hmm.
rather than go and find, oh, was this really true, or should I really find that stone where he stepped
Hmm.
and tripped. That doesn't It was not an appealing idea for me, but at least as a thought experiment, like, is there evidence? So that question is something which I got only recently. So it does make you know a lot of sense. And like all history, you said all history is written by the victors, and there's a element of interpretation in all of this, right?
Hmm.
So the main story of Ramayana, the popular version, is that it's Rama showing the world how to live,
Okay.
what is civilization, how to be devoted to a wife,
Hmm.
like how to be a good son, a good
Hmm.
king, a good brother, all of that, right? So that is one interpretation,
Hmm.
and there's also other interpretations, right? And your own initial thought, which we started, was Ramayana is actually a serious text. It's the
Oh.
Itihasa, it's the history of the Indian subcontinent, and it can't be flimsily interpreted.
Exactly.
But history is open for interpretation, right?
Yes.
So why should we, not, interpret? Like, why should it be studied under the guidance of a guru?
Good. So now for this, see, nobody is banning you from interpreting the text.
Yeah.
See, we live in a free country.
Hmm.
We live in a free civilization. You are as free to interpret
Hmm.
a scripture the way you want to,
Hmm.
the way you want to show it to others, or way you want to imbibe
Hmm.
in, like, within you. Like, as you said that whether it is a history or a fiction, that is a secondary thing.
Hmm.
We can treat it as a, it is a text, it has some good things to offer.
Hmm.
It might have some things that I might not agree.
Hmm.
I'll take the things which are good for myself.
Hmm.
See, you and me, we read fiction books.
Hmm.
Do we fight? My god, Harry Potter happened or not? We just see that people like you take inspiration even from the fictions of Dostoevsky, right?
No, not really inspiration, but that's a different thing.
Yes, like you try to imbibe that values or some good parts in your life.
Probably. I mean,
Yes.
not from Dostoevsky, maybe other stories.
Other stories, like any person, any fictional character. So sometimes I just feel that why do you want to do an ideological war? I am rightist, they're leftist. अरे यार, तुमको हिस्ट्री करना है, तुम हिस्ट्री करो. तुमको फिक्शन बनाना है, फिक्शन बनाओ. इन दोनों में से अच्छी चीज लो, हाथ मिलाओ और साथ में अपने सिविलाइजेशन को बढ़ाओ. That is what I feel. Why should there be a point of even fighting? My ideology is best when everybody is best till you are respectful of each other.
No, but in India, it was not that kind of
It
a
was
liberal.
not.
It
Yes.
was at least in the 90s. It was not that kind of a conversation,
Yes.
right? It was actually a real case which was being fought in a court.
In a court.
There was a real conflict on the ground.
Yes.
There were real people who were fighting on the streets
Fighting.
and dying as well.
Hmm.
So to that extent, it was not such a liberal thing
It
which
was not,
we are
yes.
talking right now.
now.
Actually, we were. I was probably a very young child. 1992. I was born in 1992, and that was a year when a lot of things happened, right?
Mhm.
And we have not even lived to see it.
Yes.
And many fears that our parents and grandparents have. I think it also has some trauma coming from
Yes,
those
I agree.
events. So to that extent, it is still a valid question to say, to ask whether was it really worth it, or does it really carry that much weight, or is it just politicians using it as a tool in their hand, I mean, it's still a question worth asking. But I mean, one more point I wanted to discuss was people have written some versions of Ramayana also portray Ravana as the hero.
Hero, yes.
And I think there was some controversy even in Delhi University regarding such things. And I can believe, okay, to I find it very absurd that Ravana can also be a hero in some version
No,
of
not according to
Ramayana.
it. See, when our saints had written history,
Hmm.
they did not just classify someone as totally hero or totally villain.
Hmm.
There has been no black and white.
Hmm.
There were grey characters, like
Because
grey
even
shades of.
even Ravana has been given good characters, right? He has composed stotras for
No,
Shiva.
Shiv Strota.
Hmm.
There is no mention of Shiv Strota in Valmiki Ramayana or Shiv Puran.
Hmm.
The first mention of Shiv Strota composed by Ravana comes in 7th century.
Hmm.
So there is no exact proof, but yeah.
But
there is
still,
a
let's
story,
forget the
yeah.
stotra. But he's being portrayed as a Brahmana, and he's a very knowledgeable guy.
person. Even Hanumanji, when like today when I was listening to Ami Ganatra's podcast,
Hmm.
she says that when Hanumanji first enters into the court of Ravana, he utters that this guy looks so luminous. It is just that his adharma
Hmm.
that has made his acts condemnable.
Hmm.
So that is the grey shade.
Hmm.
It is said that no person is bad. It is
Hmm.
just his karmas.
Hmm.
Whether he stands for dharma or adharma.
Hmm.
Now, who is an adharmi as per our scriptures?
Hmm.
We have 4 purusharths to attain:
Hmm.
dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And to attain these 4 purusharths, as humans, we have many unmet desires.
Hmm.
And we have many bad qualities like jealousy.
Hmm.
We say that lust, jealousy, avarice, like mohammed, sar, irsha.
Hmm.
If we remove that dharma and we are so hell bent to get our desires through matsar, irsha, then we are adharmi.
Hmm.
I might not be a bad person
Hmm.
from heart,
Hmm.
but if I just go randomly on a street and slap 2-3 people, then I'm an adharmi. I'm not doing something which is which has to be appreciated. So this is how our rishis have written the scriptures. Now, as you asked that why it is necessary to have a guidance from a guru, or what is stopping them from interpretation. Now, as I said, there is nothing to stop, but sometimes what I feel that we are in the age of internet. You open Instagram, you will find a video, Shri Krishna spoke in Bhagavad Gita this. If you open Bhagavad Gita, there is no such saying like this. Shri Krishna कह गए थे, भगवद गीता खोलो, कहाँ है भाई? Shri Krishna would have seen it. ये मैंने कब लिखा या ये मैंने कब बोला? So there are multiple sources. As we remember that while we were discussing about Forest of Enchantments, Sagar, he told that there is one primary source, that is Valmiki Ramayana, and then there are 30-40 other sources, and mind gets confused that every source has something different to say, so there should be one source so that there is no confusion. That is how we interpret that. For interpretation of any scripture, you have to see the Moola Granth. The Moola Granth is Valmiki Ramayana. And now, as we don't know Sanskrit, right?
I know Sanskrit, but not to the extent
Exactly.
that I can read this.
Exactly. I can read Sanskrit.
Yeah.
I can thoda I can understand, but
Yeah.
I'm not fluent.
Yeah.
Now, to understand that thing, sometimes, and we often read the translations. Sometimes the essence of what is portrayed is lost in translation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, you agree that. Now, why is there need of a guru to understand the scriptures? Now, our scriptures like Bharatiya Tattva Darshan is actually an academic subject. There are many Sanskrit Mahavidyalayas in India, outside India, wherein different people, different seekers, they learn our Shastras under guidance of a Vedanta Acharya or someone who is more qualified than a Vedanta Acharya. So our scriptures, as I understand, have been written in Kaumudi script. It is a special kind of Sanskrit. And to interpret our scriptures, there is a branch of interpretation known as Mimamsa. To understand that whether a certain verse has a literal meaning or has a metaphorical meaning, has to be understood by a guidance of someone who actually has read it, understood it under the guidance of a guru, and has imbibed that in his own life. Like for example, if I'm a 12th class pass, I will only be able to teach you till class 12th.
Yeah, fair enough.
If I say, I am 12th class pass, but I will teach you PhD. You will say me, यार ठीक है ना भाई, रात को कुछ के तो नहीं आया. Exactly, right? Now, who is a guru? In Bharatiya Tattva Darshan, we put a lot of emphasis and importance on a guru, teacher, or a mentor. The word guru itself means the one who takes you from darkness to enlightenment.
Agreed. Yeah.
We have this prayer, Asato ma sadgamaya, Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, Mrityur ma amritam gamaya. That is the work of guru. वो आपको अंधकार से प्रकाश की ओर ले जाता है. Now, guru is required both in worldly dealings as well as in spiritual dealings. Like there is a very famous dialogue in Mundak Upanishad between Rishi Angiras and his Shishya Shaunak, wherein Angiras says to Shaunak that there are two types of vidyas. One is the Paravidya, Aparavidya, means a spiritual knowledge and worldly knowledge, and one has to be proficient in both. Our scriptures never mention, leave everything, become a sadhu and just do japmala. Our scriptures say that you need to balance as a householder. See, for a sadhu, tyag is supreme. For a householder, it is to maintain his worldly life, to perform his duties, along with maintaining that spiritual balance. Even in Gita, when in first, second chapter, Arjun says, I just want to run away. I don't want to do my duty. Bhagavan Krishna doesn't say, okay, go to Himalaya, do tapasya. You know what? Shri Krishna says to Arjun, Siddhanti mama gatrani. What are you doing? Do your duty, go do your goddamn duty.
Yeah, I totally agree. See, I did read the Bhagavad Gita, all the 700 verses in Sanskrit, but I ended up remembering only one. I can remember only one, and only one is enough to do a lot of things.
Yes.
Like Hatova Prapsasi Swargam Jitva Va Bokshase Mahim.
Exactly.
Tasmad Uttishta Kaunteya Yuddhaya Krita Nischaya. So it's like, give it a try. If it works, it works. Otherwise, you die.
You will attain Swarga.
At least you tried. That's enough. Like that is enough philosophy to live an entire life.
And even Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, your right is only to do the karma. Because in Karma Siddhant we say that Bhagavan is Sarva Karma Phala Pradata. I am doing karma. It is the Bhagavan who will give the fruits of your karma.
So I think it's fairly clear, like if there is a story and if there is an original text and that is written in a certain language with its own interpretation, grammar, pronunciation, etc., etc., it needs to be taught by a qualified person, and any random guy can't come and write a version of Ramayana where Ravana is the hero and this guy is. I mean, like, it really blows my mind that you're writing an entirely new story. Like, I'm not saying we should go and kill this person or beat him up for saying this version of Ramayana, but it's not even worth a serious discussion. And I'm not sure if this is being taught in some university here in JNU or whatever the fuck it is. I wouldn't take such a person seriously at all, because let's say you wrote your autobiography and I wrote another version of it where you did everything the reverse of what you did, and I take this book and say, okay, this is Yash life, and people are going to laugh at this, right?
Yes, and even when we say that someone has to be qualified, how a guru should be, that is also answered in our scriptures. Now again, Angiras Rishi in Mundak Upanishad says to Shaunak, that a guru should be Shrotriya and Brahmanist. In spiritual path, Shrotriya Brahmanist means one who has attained the Brahma, means Akshara Brahma. But only a God realized sadhu, only who has been in the communion of God can make you a God realized person. Again, when I say that if I am a 12th class pass, I don't have a qualification to teach you PhD. So if someone who is a God realized sadhu, a sthit pragya sadhu, can only, one who is sthit pragya according to Gita, can only make you, introduce you to God, or has the power to introduce to God. Otherwise, nobody in this entire earth.
Yeah.
And then when we say, what is the essence, like what is the importance of Guru? Kabir Das ji said, Guru Gobind dono khade, किसको लागू पाए बलिहारी गुरुदेव की जिन्होंने गोविंद लियो बताए. Means Guru is here, God is here. I will go to the Guru because Guru is the one who introduced me to Bhagwan. See, that is the importance of Guru. We give him equal importance as God. Why? Because he is the one who will show me the mirror. And Guru is someone who will correct you for your mistakes.
And if the guru is telling it's fine to be Ravana and go and abduct someone else's wife, then obviously he's not a good guru.
No, even if that guru says, in today's world you will be caught and an FIR will be registered against you.
No. Yeah, I mean, so coming to the emotional aspect of it, like whatever we have spoken so far is like objective, not like really facts or something, but at least it's in the realm of logic, right? But the story is also emotional. It's really carries a lot of powerful emotions, and love is one of the very the core of the story, the love between Ram and Sita, and the way in which it is portrayed in Forest of Enchantment is like really funny, and I did speak about it in the previous episode, and it doesn't really, it's probably not the real interpretation of Valmiki or whatever it is, but the substantial story is still the same, right? There was Rama, he he married Sita, Sita was abducted, and then he won the war, and after he won, there was a question mark on Sita's her loyalty, or her, I don't know what is the right word. Loyalty is probably a good enough word.
Chastity.
Chastity, yeah, probably that also. I was about to use it, but I was not sure if it is the right word. Chastity and loyalty, right? And she was put through a fire test. And if you take it literally, it sort of doesn't. I mean, it doesn't fit into a literal sense, but she was put through some test.
Some test.
And even if it is magical or fictional, she was put through a fire test, Agni Pariksha, and then later she passed the test, and they came back to the Ayodhya. And in Ayodhya, some guy, he made a remark that I'm not Ram to take a questionable woman back to the house. And then Rama was again his kingly responsibilities took more precedence, and he sent Sita to forest. So if this story is seen by a woman, like the woman would feel, oh, all the time, I'm being questioned, I'm being punished, even though I love this man so much, I'm so loyal, I'm bearing his kids, I'm still being, treated so horribly. Like, let's say even there are laws, or there are rational reasons for doing this, or the responsibility of the king itself. But as a woman, this would still be devastating, right? And my question is, like, you have studied, you've gone to all of these places where it is being taught with nuance, from a perspective of learned gurus. Like, what do they say about these aspects of the story?
No, I would not specifically comment what they say, because it is a part of the katha, and katha is a holistic approach.
Okay, even if that's telling it, like, in what sense is it being taught?
Okay, now as you said that any woman will have a negative connotation or a negative emotional impact. It is but natural to have that. And no one should, say that, why do you have this reaction to it? He was just doing his duty and this.
Yeah.
You don't have to say that, because as a human, even as a man, if I see that, but even Lakshman was not happy with that thing. There is a Lakshman Sita Samvad in that. Now, when we come to Agni Pariksha episode, I think Ramcharitmanas had this concept of Maya Sita or Chaya Sita, that Bhagwan Ram knew that there is a prayojan and I have to kill Ravan. And even in our scripture there is a long back story that Jai Vijay were two Dwarpalas of Bhagwan Vishnu and Ashwini Kumars go there. And since Ashwini Kumars were kids, they were not dressed. So Jai Vijay said that, how can I let you meet Bhagwan Vishnu? And then Ashwini Kumars gave them a curse that you go to the Mrityu Lok and you will be born as demons. Then they say, Maaf kar do.
No, there was that choice, right? There can be like many births as.
That was later.
Okay, that was modified. Okay.
Then they said that, I'm sorry, mistake ho gaya ji. Then they said, okay, we cannot reverse our curse, but Bhagwan Vishnu. Then Bhagwan Vishnu says that, either, as you said, that either get born recurringly for so and so period, or you are born thrice. And in 3 births you will be slain by my avatar. So first was Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashyap. It was Vara avatar, Narsimha avatar. Then Ravan Kumkaran, Bhagwan Ram killed both. Then in Mahabharata we have Shishupal Dantvakra. They were killed by Bhagwan Krishna. One aspect to that is that even those characters knew, because there is a mention in Ramayana that when Khardushan were killed by Bhagwan Ram, Khardushan and their entire army, Ravana says that only God has the power to kill Khardushan. It means he knew the prayojan. But as we say, Itihasa, the way it happened, it is cyclical. It might even happen the same way in past manvantars or past yugas. This was the prayojan. Now, I think I had read somewhere that Ramcharitmanas has the concept of Chaya Sita, where Bhagwan Ram knew that we need to kill Ravan and Sita ji is a Nimit Matra, so that I can reach Ravan. So, again, as you said that, the original Sita was dormant and there was a new magical Sita. This Chaya Sita. That is one theory. Now, another, if I see it through a logical lens, you mentioned that you like Bhagwan Rama because he was a man of his words. Now, whenever we interpret history or we look at history, we are in 21st century. We tend to perceive history with the lens of 21st century.
Yeah, it's unfair.
It's our bias, and it comes naturally to us.
Yeah.
Like, we should not criticize it. Okay, there is a bias inside me. Like, I have a bias that whenever I see some situation or I read something, I tend to correlate it with spirituality or with spiritual lens. That is my bias. Any other person will have some different kind of bias. Similarly, when we look at history, we look with a perspective of 21st century. It is bad in 21st century. Now, as we discussed earlier, that Ramayana is something accepted to be happened 10,000 or 11,000 years ago. We see the problems in the society right now. What could have been the problems in society, or what could have been the procedures of law in society 11,000 years ago, when there was no social media, no print media, there was only word of mouth. Now, Bhagwan Ram was exiled, a prince who would be a king, as a future king, rule of law, as I say, as a lawyer, even as a lawyer or even a judge, we all have to act under the rule of law. No matter how powerful a person is, law is equal for everyone. The rule of law shall always prevail. Everybody has to follow the rule of law, even the king. Now, Bhagwan Ram, at that time, it might have been the procedure that if someone goes to other person's home, he or she has to undergo a certain test. Now, a king has to uphold Rajadharma, that is the constitution, and Rajdanda. If someone has done something wrong, he has to penalize that person. I'm not saying that Sita ji has done something wrong, it is just a context that as a king has to uphold Rajadharma and Rajdanda. It might have been the procedure of law at that time, and if Bhagwan Ram, being the king, the one who makes law, has to follow the law. See, this is my office. If I am the one who is coming late every day and I expect my juniors to come on time, how my juniors would tell me or how my staff would treat me.
I get your point. See, I totally agree. So let's say he is holding up to a very, he's showing the high standard.
Highest standard.
Now the high standard applies to the man as well, right? Like
Yes.
probably that leads me to the next question which I had in my
before that,
mind.
I'll tell you one more thing. Two more things. Now, you remember there used to be a show named as Chanakya. So
I've not seen it, but I know Chanakya.
There was an episode wherein Chanakya and Chandragupta are debating, and there are some literary references of Chanakya Chandragupta Samvad, wherein Chandragupta says Chanakya, I love this girl, I want to marry her, but why are you, forcing me to enter into an alliance with a Greek invader so that I could marry his daughter. I love that girl, I love my lover. Then Chanakya said, you are the king, you do not have a personal life. It is your praja's happiness, the peace of the empire is only your life. Similarly, as a king, even in that time, like 11,000 years ago, the structure of dharma, the structure of law was like that. Even if one citizen is unhappy, the king, in his has to act like we say ना मजबूरी है. मैं नहीं चाहता, पर मुझे वो high standard maintain करना है, मुझे वो precedent set करना है society में. That is why I am doing that. Now, there are two more aspects. One aspect is that when you asked about the interpreting of scriptures, I have been taught in like Akshardham, like saints say that any scripture has two kinds of things. One is Siddhantik, the principle. It will not change. Karma Siddhant, Siddhant of Runa Anubandh. No matter what happens, it will stay the same. Second type of things are Opcharik. The same are not to be interpreted as a precedent. It may only be valid for a certain time, place, period, or a person. And that is why when you understand a certain scripture under the Guru, he will tell you, see, this is Siddhantik and this is Opcharik. And if this is Opcharik, this is not to be treated as a precedent. Now, third angle to it, which is a very interesting angle.
Are we talking about exceptions here?
No, not exceptions. Just limited to a particular time, place, a particular situation, not exceptions.
So it's not something you can apply everywhere, but only in such scenarios.
Or it has been applied in past, it will not be applicable to the present or to anybody else. It was just for that one person.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
People, but a person specific. Now there is another aspect that I thought.
But that would violate your other principle, right? That the constitution is the same for everyone.
Yes, that is there. But that is why I said, no, Opcharik. In that time, it was there in that time. It might not be feasible in this time.
Okay.
In that way. Now there is third aspect I just thought while I was preparing. See, when do you complain to someone? Like when do you show your anger to someone?
When you have some expectation which is not met.
Expectation, or second, you treat that person as your own. See, if
no, that can also be toxic. Like why should I be imposing something?
If some XYZ is not my friend, he has done something which might have, I wouldn't have liked that. Like, I don't know that person. If a very close friend of mine, or a person who I look upon, or an authority who does something which I felt hurt, I will go and complain to that person. See, I didn't like your behavior. Especially now when we talk about Bhagwan Ram in Bhakti Marg. When someone is complaining to Bhagwan Ram that Bhagwan, you are a Maryada Purushottam, how can you do this? This is the highest form of bhakti.
No, but what is this guy saying? The laundry guy. He's saying, "I'm not Ram to take back a wife."
Yes.
So he is unhappy with Ram taking back his wife. Is it? I
Yes.
mean,
But that is, see, you're talking about the, as you said, the people like you and me. We have that,
I get the sentiment. Like I
But how
understood what
can
you're trying to say.
a Maryada, an idealistic man, behave this with his wife? Bhagwan Ram, I have looked upon you for so many years, and this is my bhakti, through which I have a right to question my God with a curious lens. That is the epitome of bhakti. When you complain to your
Probably.
God.
But I still buy the first theory which you said, like it was probably the constitution and like.
Yes.
And this, the third one, I really don't agree with
This
it.
is my
because-
personal, like from a bhakti marg.
Yeah, I understood. But I feel like then you can put anyone on a pedestal and you can say, okay, you can force that guy to do things you don't want.
Yes, yes.
He doesn't want to do, right? Like, I don't feel that is something which is productive.
When you are in bhakti marg, I'm only talking about a situation of bhakti in bhakti marg. As I said, of a particular situation. That
I
will
agree.
not-
I got your point. I got
See,
your
I
point.
will not do bhakti of my friend.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
friend.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Largely, I agree, but I think the first one which you said was more palatable to my mind. Um, I mean, I was about to go to my next this one idea that let's say there is a constitution which is very a high standard and someone has to show that it can be met. So now, like Rama is saying that okay, I'm going to meet a high standard and show that my wife is really pure and all of that. And in the same sense, even Rama was going around in the forest, right? Like no one was watching him. The citizens were not watching what he's doing in between. Like when he's searching for Sita, like he's with Lakshman, he's with
Sugriv.
Sugriv and all the entire monkey army and all of that, right? So his conduct, so no one is watching his conduct, like what he's doing. Like, is he, messing around with other women? Whether he is misbehaving. So then the citizen would also say, like, show me your conduct,
Your
right?
conduct, yes.
And even Sita has the right to ask that question,
She
right?
has,
Like,
of course. We all have right.
So, why was that question never asked? Or rather, is there a okay? You can still say in that time it was not asked, but
What
if
about
you
today?
if at all that high standard or constitution is being imposed here, why was that question not asked to Ram as well?
Yes, so just give me this. I have some page numbers here. This is the book that I will refer again, Ramayana Insights 1 by Dr. R. Rangam from Valmiki Ashram, Bangalore. So now, when Valmiki ji wrote Ramayana, he knew that one day we will be doing this podcast and you will throw this Uno reverse card on me. So now, to say that, why was Bhagwan Ram not put to those loyalty tests or other tests? Now, I often say that, today we live in an era, especially in India, where you can criticize Bhagwan Ram, but you cannot criticize Mahatma Gandhi. Although I don't have anything against Mahatma Gandhi.
I have critical thoughts about Gandhi as well, but yeah, that's a
He did
different
what
question.
he did. And that was the lens of history. Again, I said we can, in 21st century, we cannot, put an objective or a subjective lens to history. What he did, he did. That is another thing that I'll tell you off record. Now, Bhagwan Ram has not once or twice, but in his entire life, been put to various tests. Not once, not twice, but every time. Like, he has been tested of his bravery. Like, if you know that incident that after Bhagwan Ram and Lakshman came back from Gurukul, Sage Vishwamitra came and asked Dashrath ji that, some demons are harassing us in the forest and I need Ramji and Lakshmanji to come to me and, fight with Marich and Tadka. Then Tadka what happened. He was tested, his bravery was tested there first time. Then he has been tested as a husband, as a son, as a brother. Now,
No, those are
no,
different.
I'm coming to the point.
Okay, fine.
I'm just, as a lawyer, it is my my mind works in this way that I'll say this first step.
Okay,
step,
go ahead,
step,
go ahead.
Third step. Now, Ramayana mentions specifically, like I said, Valmiki ji knew that we'll come to this podcast and he thought, Nitesh will ask this thing to Yash, so let me mention about Lord Rama's conduct while he was searching for Sita. There are entire there are episodes, there are shlokas which Dr. R. Rangan has specifically mentioned as has given references. So this is one. Sri Rama says, that is, mother, father or any other, none is as lovable to Rama as Sita. Neither he loves anyone more than her. That is mentioned in Ramayana and that is specifically mentioned after Sita ji was abducted. Now, how Bhagwan Ram is with a friend. He says, I shall not give up at any cost. The one who approaches me with true love, even he has a flaw, good shall not condemn my deed. And now, when Bhagwan Ram has such a feeling for his friend, how can he give up on his wife, his most beloved? Now, there is one more, reference 44. Where is that? In Valmiki Ramayana, it is said that Bhagwan Ram in separation only talked about Sita. He only talked about Sita. He cried. As a man, now we will say that, mard hai, mard kyun ho raha hai? No. He cried. Now, let me finish my point.
Okay.
And he was always suffering, only having the deed of efforts to attain her back. And it is said, Rama never undertakes any other thing except making efforts to attain Sita. Rama always talked about Sita. Rama talked about Dharma while Bali asked questions. And at the same time, he talks about Sita. Rama never performs anything except making efforts to attain Sita. Rama always talks about Sita. Rama suffers always. And these are words which are actually stated to emphasize the intensity of how much Bhagwan Ram loves Sita. And even Bhagwan Ram goes till that extent to say that without Sita there is no meaning in my life. This is what is written in Ramayana. And see, Bhagwan Ram in that era where there were no big steamer ships or any modern technological equipment, he gathered all the resources. As a leader, he knew that he could not alone do everything. He actually made an effort. He took all those time. He could have easily gone to Ayodhya, marry second, third time, theek hai, gayi. But he put that effort. These days we have that trend, if someone doesn't peel an orange for me, and I will not think that person loves me. Bhagwan Ram, traveled from an entire country to get back his wife. How much more evidence for love you need? And then he says to Sita, even in another birds, if you are not there with me, there is no meaning to life. How much love do you need?
No, I agree. The sentiment is very, very strong. But it still comes down to substantial things, right? Like hypothetically, I can still love some ex-girl. I mean, ex in the sense, some other partner whom I really love. She might still stay in my heart for the rest of my life. But I can still, go and approach other women, flirt with them, have a physical relationship. I can still. Love? It is not, but I'm saying theoretical.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
No, I'm talking about a very theoretical, and people say this, people say so many things, right? It is not love, obviously. I agree with you, but I can say
cross-examination done.
Let me complete. So okay. I can say hundreds of things. I can say hundreds of things in your presence, in presence of all of my friends. In presence of my family, in presence of my followers, my team, etc., etc. But in private, I can be doing hundreds of things, and unless there is some sort of concrete evidence, no one can say whether I was truly loyal to this particular woman only. Like what you're saying is okay, agreed. Emotions agreed. Like he's always thinking of her, but so was Sita. She was also sitting there and thinking.
Nobody denies that, no?
But there was Agni Pariksha only for Sita. There was no Agni Pariksha for Ram, right?
Now to answer this, how have you come from your office?
Through car.
Okay, what route did you take?
I took the map, whatever Google Maps.
No, but what was the route like? From sector 126 to here?
Sector 126, there's D&D and directly to.
How do I know you went to D&D? I didn't see you.
Maybe if I have a dash cam, I can pull out my this one. I have a GPS thing which tracks all my path and all that.
It can lie. I can very well prove it in the code that it is a forged document.
Okay, what is the point you're driving at?
You tell me. You had asked me the question. Nobody saw it. How can you believe it? I didn't see you. How can I believe you?
See, the logic which you're saying is that he had a lot of emotions, and emotions were there with both the people.
That he had a lot of emotions. These are not Bhagwan Ram's words. This is the conduct of Bhagwan Ram that has been observed while he was searching for Sita, or while he was in private by others. And that narration has been given by Valmiki ji. It is not that Bhagwan Ram is saying, see, I am saying this about Sita. It is the observation. Shri Ram cries. Shri Ram asks Lakshman, where is Sita? Where is my Sita? He gets that emotional. And then Bhagwan Ram was a king in that era where polygamy was a norm. Dashrath ji had 3 wives. Then even after Bali was killed, Sugriv had married Tara, who was Bali's wife. And Sugriv already had a wife, Rama, who when Bali tried to kill Sugriv and banished him from the kingdom, Bali forcefully married Rama without her consent. So in that era, when polygamy was a norm, there is an incident in Ramayana. There are 2 incidents. First incident is when Shurpanakha comes to Bhagwan Ram and says that you are so handsome, I like you, you should marry me. Shri Ram says that I am already married to Sita, I will not marry someone else. In a time where polygamy was norm. Second, now the time comes in Uttar Ramayana, when Sita ji was living in Valmiki ji's ashram. Bhagwan Ram wanted to perform Ashwamedh Yajna.
I agree, yeah.
Now he could have married anyone. He's the king. Who will say no to the Chakravartin Samrat of Ayodhya? Nobody. Nobody will say no to Lakshman. Nobody will say no to Bharat or Shatrughan or anyone from the royal family. But Bhagwan Ram instead ordered for a golden idol of Sita ji to be placed near him. Now, if you are still trying to, I will nitpick every behavior of Lord Ram and prove that he was disloyal.
No, I'm not saying he's disloyal.
No, tests. When you ask about test, he was tested at every moment. Even Vali, when Bhagwan Ram killed Vali from the back, Vali said that, I have heard about you that you are someone who follows the path of Dharma. And being a Kshatriya, you are a true Kshatriya, how could you kill me from the back? And that is someone that cowards do. Then what did Bhagwan Ram say? Bhagwan Ram said that, I come from the family of Chakravartin Samrat. And the entire area comes under my subject. And I have been knowing how adharmi you have been. You have been managing your kingdom with lust, with adharma. You married the wife of your younger brother without her consent. You have to consider the wife of your younger brother as your bahu, as your sister. You did adharma. And now who the hell are you to lecture me on dharma?
See, I agree to the.
And
so
now when you
from my understanding is
now when you tell about the tests, my beloved Bhagwan Ram is even tested now. When ASI in 2007 said that there is no character like Ram, no character exists like Ram. Now,
let's not go there. But from what you said, from what I understand is, like when Ram was searching for Sita, like there were other witnesses within his vicinity, like Lakshman and other. So from what I can gather is there were other people in the vicinity, including Lakshman and the entire army of monkeys and all of that, and probably they can be considered as valid witnesses of his chastity. And I think that is the emotion which is being conveyed in Valmiki's Ramayana as well. Um, you want to make a call or something?
No, just I'm messaging my parents that. Yeah, sorry.
So from what I gathered, it's like there were enough witnesses around Ram to say that okay, he was always thinking of Sita, and obviously he did not make any contact with other women. And I think the emotion is being expressed in the verses which you are quoting, that since his entire mind and body and everything was associated with Sita, and he was also being visually seen by other compatriots, there was no need for him to prove a chastity, go through any sort of test. But I think even though it makes sense, it also like clarifies the logic of this. Even if someone wants to, you know, object to this logic, at least they have some context on the basis of which they can nitpick or criticize. Because before I had this conversation with you, I had no context. Like I had no context that there is some verse in Valmiki Ramayana which talks about this. So that was helpful. Uh, I think we have already like spent 111 minutes. Like we are just like 9 minutes short of 2 hours. It's not at all a problem. I think the longer the better. Because there are so many great podcasts which are going on for 4 hours and stuff like
Even
that.
I have one more thing to substantiate. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, that we have our Swaminarayan Sampradaya has its principal scripture Vachanamrut. So, just to give a background of Vachanamrut, in Vachanamrut, Bhagavan Swaminarayan, in his last 10 years, had given certain discourses on our Shastras, which were compiled by his sadhus. Nityanand Swami, Muktanand Swami, Gopalanand Swami and Brahmanand Swami. And they were presented, compiled. So now just to give a background of Vachanamrut, Bhagavan Swaminarayan in his last 10 years had given certain discourses about our scriptures, his own interpretations, his dialogues with his sadhus and the grahasthas. So his sadhus had compiled all those discourses and made a scripture named as Vachanamrut. And all the chapters of Vachanamrut are named as, like, there were Vachanamruts written in Gadada village. So there are 3 editions of the Gadada Vachanamrut. So Gadada Pratham, Gadada Madhya and Gadada Antya. So this is one chapter, Gadada Madhya.
What is Gadada? It is like
Gadada
chapter.
is a place in Gujarat where Bhagavan Swaminarayan resided for 29 years. So like Bhagavan also resided in a place named as Vadtal. So Vachanamrut written in Vadtal as Vachanamrut Vadtal 6. So it is Gadada, Vachanamrut written in Gadada, Madhya means the second edition and 28th chapter. And this is basically, it was originally written in Gujarati, but I am just presenting the English translation. So it is written as the minutes of meetings. So like Maharaj's compassionate nature, a lifeline. So it starts with, on Phagan Sudi 2, Samvat 1879, 13th February 1823, Swami Shri Sahajanandji Maharaj was sitting facing west on a square platform at his residence in Dada Khachar's Darbar in Gadada. He was wearing a white case and had covered himself with a white cotton cloth. He had also tied a white pag around his head. At that time, an assembly of munis as well as the devotees from various places had gathered before him. So it is a proper minutes of meeting setup with date, time, what Bhagavan Swaminarayan was wearing, everything. Thereupon, Pragji Dave commented, there is no scripture like the Srimad Bhagavat. Shiji Maharaj said, yes, the Srimad Bhagavat is certainly good, but there is no scripture like the Vasudev Mahatmya, a portion of the Skanda Puran. After all, in that scripture, great emphasis has been placed on dharma, gnana, vairagya and bhakti as well as non-violence. Having said this, Shiji Maharaj continued, the Valmiki Ramayana and Harivansh have placed great emphasis on violence. In fact, Even Raghunath ji has behaved according to the characters of a Kshatriya. Even though Raghunath ji protected anyone who sought refuge at his feet, he would, however, immediately abandon him if they committed even the slightest mistake. For example, even though Sita ji became subject to only minor public criticism, he instantly renounced her even though she was very dear to him. That is what Bhagwan Swaminarayan says about the intention of Bhagwan Ram, that she was very dear to him. And it was not his choice. As a king, he was like compulsed to do that. And then, hearing this, Muktanand Swami commented Ramanand Swami's nature was similar. Then Shriji Maharaj revealed, my nature is not like that. I have great compassion for devotees of God. Then Bhagwan Swaminarayan says of the Pandavas, Arjun was also of a very compassionate nature. Now, amongst all men, there has been no man like Ramchandra ji and Arjun, and amongst all women, there has been no woman like Sita ji and Draupadi. That is how highly Bhagwan Ram, even though if there are certain things that we don't like about him, still once a Maryada Purushottam, always a Maryada Purushottam. Because he did his acts while staying in the four walls of Dharma, he did not breach that Dharma. And every great person who has come from ages to ages, Bhagwan Sri Ram, Bhagwan Sri Krishna also act within the four walls of Dharma. The Dharma was the Dharma which was in that time when Bhagwan Sri Krishna lived. Even when Bhagwan Swaminarayan was there, he acted in the four walls of Dharma. Just as I, as a lawyer or the judge, acts under the four walls of law. That is there.
Yeah, I mean, I can get the sentiment that, okay, the norms of that period were such,
Yes.
and he was forced to act that way.
Yes.
And I think that's the most, I don't know, acceptable comment one can make. So we are coming to the like sort of a final part of it. Like
Yes.
we have had a substantial conversation
Yes.
on the most contentious kind of questions one can ask about the Ramayana. Now coming to the your personal view of this. Um, like there would be something you like very much about Ramayana and something you would be disappointed, or maybe you're not disappointed about anything, any part of it. Like you like the entire thing. What is it like? Is there something which you, obviously there are so many things you like about it. Is there something which you don't like about it as well?
I will not say that something that I don't like. As I had discussed with you earlier, that Ramayana provides a very in-depth analysis of what is right versus who is right, and that has helped me as a professional. Then secondly, seeing family as a united institution. How the characters of Ramayana, of Bhagwan Ram's family, have been understanding with each other. Like when Bhagwan Ram was given Vanvas, he accepted that, he went there. Even Sita rebukes him when he says that you don't come. Sita rebukes him. It was Sita's choice as a feminist. She made that choice to come with Bhagwan Ram, as even Lakshman showed his disappointment to his elder brother that I'll come. How can you leave me behind? We'll serve you and Sita Mata. Then when Bhagwan Ram goes to Vanvas, and then he sees that Bharat is coming with the army, and Bhagwan Ram and Bharat meet. Bhagwan Ram says to Bharat, don't hold any grudge with your Bhakta. Despite the fact what was in his
that is his large-heartedness.
Secondly, even Bhagwan Ram says that she was just the Nimit Matra. I had to do this Prayojan. Itihasa, it is written, it will repeat. Bhagwan Ram knew that was his Prayojan. So, as I said that he could have easily revolted against his father and become the king. And in Ramayana it is stated that Rama is a Arya, who is loved by everyone. He had public support. Like we saw in Bahubali. Bahubali had that public support.
Yeah.
Bhagwan Ram had that public support. But he chose the hard way, the way of Dharma, the way of obliging his father. What I don't like, I will not say that I don't like it. I just felt disappointed. While I was reading the Hindi translation of Raghuvamsham of Kalidas ji, the last chapters, when Bhagwan Ram goes away, like he passes away, he forgoes his mortal body, he goes to Saket Dham. and then his descendants like Lav Kush and all other like children of Shatrughan, Bharat and all. How when Ayodhya or Kosala kingdom was when won, it was very powerful. Then later on it disintegrated, and how the kingdom, the decline of kingdom. This is something that I disappointed. यार ऐसे decline नहीं होना चाहिए था. It could have been Akhand Ayodhya, it could have been Akhand Kosal Desh. Like that is my sentiment. This was like some, of course I cannot go and change history. What is there, it is there. But just like और आगे बढ़ सकता था. That's it.
Yeah, it could have been carried on if the remaining people in the lineage were as good. Yeah, my final question was also sort of I don't know, it's an interpretation or so you said, okay, Rama was behaving in such a way in that particular era, the laws and conditions of that era, and Krishna behaved in a certain way because of the laws and conditions, social conditions of that era. But we still look upon these characters even in this era, which is obviously very, very different from those eras.
Yes.
And still, is it fair to expect that any Maryada Purushottam or honorable man to behave like Rama in this era? Because no one is behaving like Rama. There is no supportive environment. There is no supportive infrastructure to incentivize that kind of behavior. Because everyone is deceptive, manipulative. I'm not saying everyone, but a large majority. Like you can also say that it's a low trust society, right? Like unless there's significant significant possibility of losses of wealth or reputation or relationships, people don't hold up to their promises or words. Is it reasonable to expect someone to be a character of this nature? Like, what is your? I mean, it's not like there's no real one answer or there's no right answer as well. It's just an interpretation. Now that you have been exposed to so many, sermons or guidance from gurus who have studied this for years, like people who are having PhDs and all of that. What is your take on this? Like, is it possible to be an honorable person like
like Sri Ram or Sri Krishna?
Yeah. Not Sri Krishna, at least Sri Rama.
Okay. So now, as I said you earlier, that when you said that Bhagwan Ram did it so that his reputation.
No, I will come to that. I have something to say about it, but yeah, you tell me.
So as I had said, great men who are stalwarts and upholders of dharma do not do a certain act with an intention that they have to reap some benefit out of it. They do it because it is their kartavya or it is their duty to do it. Now, this particular acting in the four walls of dharma for the duty is not just carried out in Ramayana or our other scriptures. It is even being carried out in Mahabharata. Now, was Dharmaraj in Mahabharata? Yudhishthir. So now this is the book I had read in 2012 to 12 or I think 13, 14 I guess when I was in college. Difficulty of being good. A subtle art of Dharma by Guru Charan Das. I had read it when I was in Ahmedabad. I read it, I loved it. There are many points I disagreed upon. There are many points with about which I had had a very in-depth discussion with Pujya Akshardham Swamiji, who is a very senior saint of BAPS in Ahmedabad. He's kind of a mentor to me, and he has been like a guardian to me when I was in college. So firstly, I say that I was lucky enough to be guided by sadhus during my formative years.
Yeah, that's really good.
And that to a sadhu like Akshardham Swamiji, who is a prakand vidwan of all the subjects. You ask him anything, he will have a reference. He has done research in every subject, whatever is beneath the sun. He's that, and at the same time, all these sadhus, despite having so much of knowledge, so much of aura, they have that humility. That we are here for the protection, or not protection, but to follow the dharma, to be in service of God, to be in service of humankind. So now I had a specific discussion with Pujya Akshardham Swami on chapter 3, that is Yudhishthir's duty, where he says that I act because I must. So now there is a dialogue, like we know that in Mahabharata what happened. There was a game of dice. Yudhishthir lost, and then they were sent to 12 years of exile and 1 year of Agyatwas, 13 years total. So then in forest, Draupadi is sitting. She says, we had a very beautiful palace of Indraprasth. What happened? Now we are, mud is going in my face. You see Bhim, you see stalwarts, Yodhas like Arjun, Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev, Yudhishthir. They are just sitting there, and she just she gets angry. What is this? And then she laments to Yudhishthir that I remember your old bed, and I pity you, great king, so unworthy of hardship. Sorrow stifles me. I saw you bright as a sun, well oiled with sandal paste. Now I see you dirty and muddy. I see you dressed in bright and expensive. I have seen you dressed in bright and expensive silks, and now I see you wearing a bark. That is, you see the frustration. Draupadi's frustration. Na kahan the yaar, kahan aa gaye? And then, Draupadi asks, what is the result of following all such dharma when you got vanvas? And then she says, I think, king of men, it is time to use your authority on the greedy Dhritarashtras, who are always offensive. There is no more time to ply with the Kurus with forgiveness. And when the time for authority has come, authority must be employed. The meek are despised, but people shrink from the severe. He is a king who knows both. That is the level. She says, why did you do this? And then she says, why doesn't your anger blaze truly, O best of the Bharatas? You have no anger else. Why is it that your mind is not moved at the sight of your brothers and me? And then she asks, what have you even achieved by following so much dharma? Then Yudhishthir says that I do not follow dharma because I am getting some benefit out of it. I act because it is my duty to act towards it. This is such a wonderful line when I think about it. Now, great people, as I said, never follow dharma for some benefit. They follow because it is their duty. Now, I will tell you a certain incident about my Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj. He was a sadhu. He expired in 2016. Now he is succeeded by Mahant Swami Maharaj. Now, we all know that in I think September 22 or 24, 2002, Gandhinagar Akshardham was in attack. Many people died. A sadhu from BAPS also died. Terrorists came. They wanted to destroy the murti. Started firing. It was a national news. Then I think after 6 or 7 p.m, the special forces were called to eliminate all the terrorists. This is the situation, very grim situation. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was in Sarangpur, 150 kilometers away from Ahmedabad, a very small village where sadhus are trained. Very, very peaceful place, and a place very dear to my heart. The first statement of Pramukh Swami Maharaj in such a situation was, maintain peace. Don't utter any word against any person, community, or a religion that will be harmful or will cause riots. That was his first statement. He came on to national television at that time. I think Star News was the forebearer news channel of our country. He gave an interview. He said that everybody maintain peace, and he literally folded his hands as a sadhu. Maintain peace. Don't utter any word. Now, after a few days, Pramukh Swami Maharaj comes to Gandhinagar. A sadhu. Sadhu, a president of BAPS, someone whom even Narendra Modi ji sees as his guru, someone who is adored by children, youths, elderly, famous, non-famous people, everyone alike. He has been there for everyone. A president of BAPS, BAPS is an organization which has consultative status with UNO. And the Darshan Shastra, the Swaminarayan Darshan Shastra, written by Bhadresh Swamiji, Akshar Purushottam Darshan, is recognized as a proper darshan, as a school of Hinduism. Having such stature, the president of such a big, magnanimous organization, when he says something, that is to be treated as patthar ki lakir. He has said it. He has said it. It will be followed in letters and spirits. That was the personality of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. He goes to Gandhinagar, Akshardham. He sees that there are forensic that sketches have been made. People say him, people had died here. He sits down, he does dhun. He sprinkles flowers. Then someone said the terrorist died here. Imagine you and me in such situation, or leave that situation. There is a theft in my house in my absence. Even in my righteous mind, I will say, let the thief get caught, let he be tried by proper provisions of law. Let he be given chance to defend himself, and then let he be treated as the prisoner of law or anything, whatever the outcome of the trial is. That is me in my righteous mind. Now you are a guru. In 2002, there were, I think, more than 400 temples of BAPS all over the world, including Nesden Temple in London. And there were more projects like Swaminarayan Temple in Chicago, in Houston were being built. Delhi Akshardham was being built, started in 2000. A person of stature of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he sits there, does dhun for the terrorist and say, may he attain peace. He did not follow dharma because he wanted some benefit out of it. Because he is a sadhu and he sees a terrorist and a seeker alike. That is what was the dharma of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Even in today's age, he is a sadhu. So now if we put in that thing in our perspective, we are householders. We can act in dharma. We can act outside dharma. Now when it comes to Ram and Krishna, I cannot be a same person in all the situations. Like if we even take the reference of history, Shri Krishna said that he called Arjun Param Tapa, means slayer of all the enemies. Said kill all the enemies. Now going back to the medieval times, Muhammad Ghori came to India, fought with Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan firstly defeated him, and then he said, no, I'm sorry, let me go. Prithviraj Chauhan said, oh, my ancient Indian techniques, हम शरणागत को माफ कर देते हैं. Okay, let's Muhammad Ghori go away. Muhammad Ghori again stronger. He is back. Rest is history. We know what happened. I'm not criticizing Prithviraj Chauhan. He's a very great king. But one lesson that we can learn from history. Dharma as a concept is very situational. There are some dharmas like Bhagwan Swaminarayan said.
Yeah, it's contextual.
Yes, Bhagwan Swaminarayan said, dharma is sadachara. श्रुति और स्मृति के सदाचार को धर्म जानो. Good conduct, righteous conduct is dharma. As a king, my righteous conduct would have been to kill that enemy so that he does not come and attack my kingdom again and harass my citizens. That is my dharma. See, I am a nice person. If I think that I am going to jungle and lion will not eat me because I am a nice person, that is not possible.
Yeah.
As Sri Krishna said, a deceitful foe has to be dealt with deceit. So if someone is deceitful to me, if my dharma allows me to be deceitful to defeat him, I will do that.
Yeah, so what I was trying to say in the beginning, I didn't, divert the conversation. The second thing which I like about this person is, he has a reputation and he's willing to do anything, to protect it. I don't know, maybe I phrased it wrongly. It's like he has a reputation. That's what I was trying to say.
I will not say that basically.
Or rather, the reputation is created because of his actions.
His actions.
And those actions always have a very high standard, and
Yes.
he is able to maintain that high standard irrespective of the feelings.
He's
Or
able to set that precedent by following the same thing.
exactly.
See, because
So I think that's what I was trying to say, that you fundamentally have high standards,
Hmm.
and you consistently maintain that irrespective of the conditions,
Yes.
or irrespective of the feelings
Hmm.
or benefits or losses,
Yes.
which obviously you articulated it far better than me. Uh, so I think that is the inspirational aspect of this
Yes.
historical entity, and you need to have real balls and real balls of steel to even imagine that you can attain even 10 or 15% of it.
Even
And
1% if you can attain it. I believe even if I can be 0.1% of what Bhagwan Ram is, my life is sorted. Point 0.1.
So I think the freedom of expression and all of that is fine, but the fact that this god has survived so many centuries, so many instabilities in history, change in government, change in kings, change in technology,
Technology.
change in the entire the whole world has changed so many times, but the influence of this god still continues.
It will continue.
And it will continue, I'm sure, because of how pervasive the Lord's name is in India, and probably outside India as well to a large extent, because
Yes.
now Indians are living everywhere.
Not just India, because I had actually, I was doing one presentation in Yuvak Akshardham, where I had to just elucidate upon where, apart from India, there are different kinds of Ramayana. So I think
Yeah, even in Indonesia and
Indonesia, Thailand, then there is another Laos,
yeah,
then Sri Lanka,
entire Southeast Asia.
entire Southeast Asia. No, the aspect of the spread of Ramayana is so far fetched. It is
Yeah.
even beyond our imagination. We can criticize it, we can praise it as much as we can. But you say na, that
It exists.
it exists. सूरज को कभी अपनी एग्जिस्टेंस का प्रूफ नहीं देना पड़ता, उसका
Yeah.
तेज उसकी प्रूफ देता है. इसलिए भगवान राम, आप कितना क्रिटिसाइज कर लो, वो स्थित प्रज्ञ पुरुष है, उनको अपने एग्जिस्टेंस का प्रूफ नहीं देना. उनका एग्जिस्टेंस है पूरे ब्रह्मांड में. दो शब्द, राम छोटा सा शब्द है, पूरे ब्रह्मांड केवल एक दो अक्षर के शब्द में आ जाता है, राम.
I think that is the perfect place to end it as well, because there's no further explanation required.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it's a great story.
Yes, yes.
So I think thank you for spending almost
No,
more
thank you
than
for coming, man. I really loved it.
so we spent more than 2 hours
Yes.
talking about this, which only and that too I'm just a amateur as well.
No, even I'm an amateur. As I said, I don't know Sanskrit. It is just
So
what I read, what I have, get it from my guru. I try to
Yeah.
just make even 1% of it.
yeah, it's a very expansive topic and a very inspiring one as well. And I'm glad we had this
Same,
conversation. And there might be a lot of disturbance in this
Yes, yes.
episode, but I hope it still conveys the message.
Yes, yes.
And of course, the whole point of this conversation is, or the whole point of doing this is to document great conversations,
Yes, yes.
thoughts, and also like know people as well, because only when you ask certain kind of questions you get to know someone in a different context. So I'm glad we had this conversation, and probably if you survived till this point, I'm sure you would have also, the listener would have also enjoyed this conversation. And
I hope the listener enjoys.
yeah, I hope they reach this point.
Yes.
I'm not sure if everyone will, but I think some will, because
Some.
the nature of the topic is in that sense.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll also put up that in very long note which you have written.
Yes.
Those who can't listen for like more than 2 hours, they can even
They can
read that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm yet to edit that note properly.
So you edited it, and
I actually like as I
So I think it's almost 11 o'clock now. Time to sleep.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Time to have dinner also.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks if you actually listen to this till this point.